Hello again, and welcome to our book study of Get Over Your Damn Self. Today, we're going to be talking about chapters 6 and 7. So let me find where I am. Okay. I really liked these two chapters. I feel like now it's getting into really the how-tos of how to do the business. The first couple chapters was, what's your why, what's your story, and those things are important. But those are, like, in teaching terms, those are more kind of philosophical things. And now we're getting down to the nuts and bolts of the how to work your business. Do this, do this, do this. Don't do that. That's what I'm getting out of the chapters that we're getting into now. So chapter 6 is she's interested. Now what? Where are my glasses? There they are. So starting right off the bat in the first paragraph of that chapter, she said, first, I want you to know that I've come to dislike the traditional sales term close because I think it promotes hunter behavior. Instead, I like to think of the next stage of the conversation as the decision-making process. And I like that. I think that's a good way to think about it. And maybe we should stop referring to it as close when we talk about it, because it does it sounds hunter-like and transactional when we need to, ideally, we should be relational in this business. We'll be more successful when we're relational.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, actually, it's also kind of like we're just going to drop you. We're going to close this. And it's kind of like there's no more room for them. And they kind of look closed. I kind of thought I was beginning.
Right. Right. Well, and I don't think we tend to use the term so much when we're speaking to the customer. At least I don't. But in the types of sales where close is used a lot is like buying a new car. We're going to close the deal. And you're going to drive away in the car, and basically you're done with that salesman.
Right. They're not going to contact you again, more than likely.
Right. Or closing on a new house. You close that transaction, you're done with that agent. Your relationship is now with the bank. And ours is not that kind of business. It is just starting a relationship. But I don't know. I don't use the term close with potentials, but we use it when we're talking to each other. I
It's a
hear people say,
connotation.
yes, yes. But I hear some of our sideline sisters, they'll say, well, I've got this one and this one I'm talking to, and I'm going to try to close them today or tomorrow, whatever. And it's not that it's inappropriate, but there is a connotation to it, I think, that makes it sound hunter-like. So, anyway, my thoughts. Moving on in that chapter, one of the first things I flagged and made a note of on my little sticky that I use, like note the things I want to talk about. On page 89, where she talks about what your job is at this point. So it's in the second paragraph. She says, your job, while you take a prospect through their decision, is to guide them through the exploratory process and help them figure out if you have something of use for them. Everything you say and do should be motivated by helping someone come to the right decision for them. And I made a note in the margin, it's don't try to convince. We shouldn't be trying to convince them, because if we're trying to convince them, they're not 100% on board. And if we have to talk them into it, it's not going to be a strong relationship, and they're probably not going to last. We're going to be trying to convince them every month.
Every month, yeah.
Is what that's what that will boil down to. So I liked that it's related to what we say, that it needs to be relational, not transactional. So thoughts on that? what are some takeaways y'all had from this chapter? I have more, but I want to hear from somebody else. I feel like I'm doing all the talking. I'm a little bit wound up today.
You're doing a great job.
I really liked this chapter.
What else did
And
you like?
interestingly, I mentioned this before we started the recording that I've just come from a job interview, but the man said something in the interview that's related to this piece of the book, about helping them figure out what's right for them. He told me that when they fit Letterman jackets, they don't tell the student what size to buy. They have them try on at least two and talk to them about what year they are in high school and bone structure differences from whether it's a girl or it's a boy, and what their growth expectations are based on where they are in high school. And if the student says, what size do you think I should get? I can't answer that for you. You need to make that decision based on what feels the way you want it to feel, making allowances for these things to expect,
3
etc.
years down the road.
Right. That's really interesting. And as a teacher, as a retired teacher, and maybe, and this is relevant to my business, I have a tendency to want to say, well, I think you should.
Yeah, I
If
really
I
like
were,
what he said, where you said, I can't answer that for you, because I try to share always at least two combos after I've been
Mhm.
talking to somebody, always
Mhm.
share at least two. They say,
Mhm.
what would you suggest, or what do you think I should get? And I'm like, if you have the budget for it, going all in with this one is going, this, or we could do this one, and add things on later, or the results might be a little slower. So if we want to hit all your goals at once, this combo is going to be great, or this one, what feels most comfortable to you? Because some people, like myself, I'm an all in kind of girl.
Me
Like,
too.
oh, if I pay that, you're going to tackle all my issues at once. And some people are really more slow to warm up, and they'll be like,
Right.
well, let me just start with this and get comfortable and add things on. And if they like, I have somebody right now who has the, trim and triplex, and I sent some samples, and she's like, she did the 3-day reset, loved it, is struggling to get consistent with the gut health, but has fallen in love with Hydrate and Active. So all she wants to order this month is Hydrate and Active, which is okay, but she has everything. And she's kind of like, school's starting and she's got a full-time job. It's just, and so giving people options, I like that. I can't answer that. What, also, we don't know people's budget. And some people,
Right. Right.
we don't want to make them do something that's going to make them uncomfortable
Mhm.
and then ignore us, turn off their subscription and ignore us because they,
Because they're
overspent.
overwhelmed.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I should acknowledge that a difference between making a decision what plexus combo to order and making a decision what size Letterman jacket to order. A Letterman jacket is one and done. The school is only going to pay for one Letterman jacket for you. Okay. So if you get it and you're unhappy with it, or you get it and your parents think you've made a mistake, that's a whole different ball of wax. With a plexus combo, we can make adjustments going forward. So I want to acknowledge that difference. It's not 100% like fitting Letterman jackets.
But there are people, how many times have we had one and dones?
That's true.
I've
It's
had a
true.
ton of people order once and never order again, no matter what my customer care was, no matter what discounts. So we do
It's
really
true.
want
It's true.
to get
I
it right
just
the first time. But I do understand what you're saying. But
yeah.
more times than I can count, I've had somebody order once and never again.
Mhm. Oh, me
And,
too.
It's hard.
Me too.
It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to project how their bodies are going to react. And it's and so many of them react differently. And once they've gotten that stuff and their bodies are not responding correctly, it's really in my mind, it's hard to bring them back around to where can we go from here? And let's say they've spent $200 and those $200 worth of products don't agree with them. And the $100 over here does. I'd never thought of the projection, but to me, it's as hard to project someone's health as it is to project, are you going to like that jacket 3 years from now?
Yeah, that's
I've
true.
seen too many people switch with their health. And let me tell you, once they get disgusted with that detox on that triplex, let me tell you, they ain't backing in. They are out. And I think more times than none, that's what has happened to people when they say, Plexus, man, I ain't trying that crap again. That stuff made me gain weight. I got so big, and man, I felt awful. And I thought, that stuff just wasn't managed. But you can't change
You
those
can't convince them,
hearts.
right?
It's
Right.
very
Yeah, you can't convince them past the point of it made me sick. It's like, well, that means it's working. Tell me what symptoms you experienced. And yeah, that's to be expected. But I also think to a certain extent that comes back on us as to what have we told them, how have we educated them going in. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody because I've had the same issue. And I've realized we have to educate them as, here are some things that may happen. Don't be alarmed. And please be in communication with me so that I can guide you through this and we can adjust and blah, blah, blah.
right. It's a trust issue.
It
A
is.
lot of it is.
It is. But it's really frustrating. It is really frustrating when you're trying to be in communication with your person who's just started the products, and they don't respond, they don't respond, they don't respond, they don't order the next month. And then when you finally get in touch with them, they say, oh, it was too much for me. My tummy couldn't handle it. And it's like, I really wish you would have communicated that to me so that we could have adjusted.
Right.
I've had that happen so many times. So many times. So, but
And I guess we just go in spite of it.
We just, keep trying is all we can do.
Right.
I think, Angie, the only other thing I would add to that is there's that saying, meet people where they are. I mean, I constantly look back at, I'm like Christy, I'm an all in, like, what's the biggest welcome pack that I can start with and have the biggest value? And then I'll, break down the products from there. But I look at Jessica Park. I mean, how long did she order just ProBio 5? You know what I mean? But that's what helped her. And she stuck with it. And then she added on products when they were, beneficial to her.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's true. And we can't overlook the value of the person who only wants to order one product because there's still potential there.
Yeah, because you never know. I mean, they may, 4 months down the road, turn around and be like, okay, now I need this other stuff. And in 2 months being like, oh, I got to tell my mom and my sister. And you know what I mean? Like, you just never really know what that person's going to have going on.
Okay.
Timing.
Yes, for sure. So on page 90 in the book, they mentioned another book, Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, and I recognized his name because I know he's the guy who wrote Outliers, which all through my teaching career, I told myself, you need to read that book. You need to read that book. You need to read that book. And I haven't ever read Outliers. I've heard quite a bit about it, but I think this one would be interesting too, called Blink, where, let's see, apparently in that book, he says there's two types of decision makers. The gunslingers and the methodical, analytical, need to look at things from every angle and all sides type. and that the key to effective and efficient closing practices is to keep control of the process and the something. There seems to be a word missing there. My guess would be that the word should have been conversation. Control of the process and the conversation, regardless of what type of decision maker you're talking to. So I latched onto that and thought, okay, kind of like we talk about the color personalities, we need to be aware of what kind of decision maker we're dealing with and talk to them according to the kind of decision maker that they are. But then in the next paragraph, it goes on, according to Gladwell, great decision makers aren't those who process the most information or spend the most time deliberating, but those who have perfected the art of thin slicing, filtering the few factors that matter from an overwhelming number of variables. And so then I thought about that and I thought, how can we help them figure out or filter out the factors that are important to them?
In my opinion, it's asking questions on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
What I usually will tell somebody is I'll say, hey, I'm going to ask you some questions, and the more information you can give me, the better it is, because I will send you what is very specific to you, because there's a ton of information and there's just too much. And I will say, I don't want to bore you with all the details that really don't apply to you at all. So the more you can help me understand your health goals or your health issues, the better I can send you information on things that I think will be relevant to you. Because we could vomit plexus, but you lose people, especially, if you're telling somebody about an amazing migraine testimony and they've never had migraines, you've just wasted 5 minutes. Right. So just asking them and sometimes guiding them. Usually people will be like, I just want to lose weight. I always will say, okay, any issues with asthma, pooping, migraines, PMS, there's lots of things that people, especially women, think are just a normal part of life that there really isn't a solution to. So I will throw out lots of things. And sometimes they'll say, no, really, it's just weight. Everything else seems to be good. And sometimes it's, oh my gosh, all of those. Right. And so I think sometimes they don't even know how to answer it. And so I will
don't realize that those things are tied to weight loss
or connected. Correct.
Yeah.
So
I didn't.
Right.
I started Plexus for weight loss.
It's because most people believe it's nothing but food and exercise, that nothing else contributes to their size at all. And so when you start, asking questions, you can answer them really specifically and pretty concisely, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now, at some point within the last year, my aunt said to me that, she had been to her doctor, and her doctor had said that weight loss is still just about calories consumed and exercise. And I just kind of smiled and nodded, because you can't argue with my aunt. You just can't. She's going to have the last word in every conversation. So I just smiled and nodded, while in my head thinking, wonder how old this doctor is.
And was probably a male.
No, it was a female doctor. It was a female doctor.
Wow. That's crazy. Because there's just so much more.
Yeah. So in wondering about this art of thin slicing, I did a little bit of looking. I didn't find out too much more specific, other than it's just the practice of being able to make a decision on little information, but pulling out the key factors that really matter. Based on a short time period of expertise. For example, I don't have a medical degree. I haven't studied nutrition, but I do have a few years of pretty intense experience with Plexus. So I do have some specialized knowledge based on this small bit of experience. What I found in the meantime, though, in looking at trying to get a more precise definition of thin slicing, I found a website. Well, it's a subscription service, but it's called Short Form, where you can locate summaries of books. So say you have a list as long as your arm of books that you'd like to read, but you don't have time to read them all. You could subscribe to this service and you could read these. And it's not just a paragraph long summary, it's like a page or more. I thought, that's really interesting. And if y'all are interested in that, I'd be happy to share the link. Because I feel like I have so many business books on my list that I'm never going to have time to read them all and do anything else with my life. Whereas if I could get a good detailed summary that I wouldn't have to invest as much time in as reading an entire book, that would be handy. So if y'all are interested in that, let me know and I can send you the link. I have no idea how much the subscription costs. I did notice on the page, I need to pursue it further. My time was in short supply this morning when I ran across that, but it's like, I'm going to look at that later. So let me know if you're interested in that. Not right now, just send me a message later. Okay, but the idea behind all of that, as he says, pretty much smack in the middle of page 90, or rather, as Romy Neustadt says, we want to help each person filter the factors important to their decision making so they're able to come to a quicker decision that's right for them. Kind of like the man told me today about the Letterman jacket. Try this on, do this. Is it comfortable? Do you like how it feels? Do you need to try on another size, etc.? So, but helping them come to the decision that's right for them without telling them what to do. In this case, now later, we do need to tell them what to do. We do need to tell them, and I think that's over on page 91, where we need to tell them, okay, the next step in this process is, rather than ask them, where would you like to go from here? Because they don't know. They don't know what the options are. So I believe it is on page 91 or something. I don't remember now where it was.
At the bottom of 92, where it says, don't ask, but tell your prospect what the next steps are.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Exactly. So sorry, I got lost for a second. And that's when you move into the three-way call. So before we leave the thin slicing idea though, the author of our book, Romy Neustadt, in the middle of page 90 and in talking about the gunslingers versus the analytical decision makers, obviously the gunslingers being the ones that seem just very almost loosey-goosey. Yeah, okay, I'm all in. That we feel like maybe they haven't put as much thought into it. They make quicker decisions. She said, it's been my experience that gunslingers are more rare, but she doesn't say but there's a big but right here. It's interesting to note that in our entire huge organization, almost every single one of the successful business builders have been gunslingers with regard to making the decision whether to start a business.
My assumption would be they're not overthinkers. It's the overthinkers that, they overthink and it takes them forever to make a decision. And they're worried about what everybody else is going to think. And they're worried about, they're overthinkers. It's the
Right.
gunslingers. We're like, yep, let me give this a try. You know, like when I started saying, what? I think people make money doing this. Okay, let me like I didn't. It
There's no
never occurred
fear
to me
there.
that people would judge me for selling something.
Right. There's no fear.
Mm-mm.
They can
Yeah.
just, make
Yeah.
it even if it didn't go right. They can start all over and make it good again. Kind of like
Correct.
millionaires who lose their money.
They
Within
always
six
become
months,
millionaires
they've
again.
got it all back and more. They know what they're doing. They're
Mhm.
not afraid to make decisions or to make mistakes.
Right.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. She does follow up saying, I'm certainly not suggesting that you should write off anyone who doesn't come to a quick decision. But your process should be designed to add the gunslingers as quickly as possible. Show them how to do the same and help the rest come to a decision that serves them and doesn't slow you down in the process. So I thought that really spoke to me, is just, I don't know, in a nutshell, I guess it's know who you're dealing with and talk to them accordingly. If they make quick decisions, great. Help them make the quick decision, show them how to duplicate that process, and they'll probably be off to the races, while you can then turn back and focus on the ones who are more methodical in the decision making. But also don't get bogged down with the methodical ones.
And then they have their own process to be successful. It may not look a thing like our picture, but they know how to make things happen, and they just need to be allowed the freedom to make it happen.
Yeah.
I like what she says beneath. What's in it for them? That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep focusing on that. The what's in it for them. Always come back to their why and what's in it for them.
Right.
And I think that's not even, I think that's been a weakness of mine in the past, is even knowing their why or talking to them from an angle of what's in it for them. So,
Took us a while to get there.
yeah. But I also really like how she keeps giving us things to say, how to say it. And yes, modify it so that it sounds authentically like you. Again, I'm noticing that as we move through this book, we're moving from the theoretical, philosophical to here's what to do. Do this, take these steps. And I'm wishing, and maybe this is out there somewhere that I can find. I'm hoping that there's like a get over your damn self organizational chart, flow chart, poster sized. Like, okay, do this, now do this. If this, then do this, but if that, then do this other thing. And something like that would be really helpful.
It exists.
It does?
I need to find it for you. Send me a message
Okay.
after this and remind me to look for the flow chart, because it does. I've
Awesome.
shared it before, but it's been a couple years. So I'm
If
gonna
I
have to dig
send you
for
a
it.
message, will you look at both messages, or can I just say, yes, I'd like to have that? I don't want to inundate your message box.
Whatever. Yeah, send it. Whatever. I just have to dig and look for it.
Well, and if I ask for it, she's going to put it in our book study chat.
Yeah.
So that would be where to find it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, starting on page 90, I started hearing echoes of Genevieve again about, move them to the next position in the next, how she says, you want to move the conversation, move them to the next micro commitment is what Genevieve calls it. Okay, but it's, you need to schedule the next conversation, invite them to an event if there's something happening in 24 to 48 hours. Okay, if there's not something happening in the next 24 to 48 hours, make something happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. It's not that
Correct.
difficult. It's not
Listen,
that difficult to
all of you
collect
guys
the
are-
information.
Yeah, all of you guys are in the messenger events. Just pull it and repost it. You can do your own the next day. Just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and then it's over.
Not that I've done it recently, but I have done that.
Mhm.
Just, well, I'm talking to somebody and well, there's not anything happening anytime soon. So I'll say, I'm doing a blah, blah, blah tomorrow.
Yeah.
Does that work for you? And let
Mhm.
me add you to the chat. And then I'll put the word out. I'll tell people like Jessica,
Yeah, invite more people to add people to it.
say, hey, I've got a potential that I need to do a chat, a 15-minute chat for, and it would be helpful if there's more people there.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
third party validation if you got more people in it. So, feel free to add your people. Here's the link. Or I'll add you, add your people, whatever. It's
Mhm.
not hard to do. Okay. And not to take any appreciation away from the 2 a week that y'all are doing for us, because I so appreciate it. Knowing that those are there is very helpful. And that's going to be a first line of approach. But if that's not, if you're
If you need
talking to
one on
somebody,
Monday, do one on a Monday.
yeah. Or if you're talking to somebody Saturday after that one just ended and you don't feel like putting them into the one that's already ended is going to be effective, do one on Sunday afternoon.
Mhm.
That makes so much sense. I seriously don't know why we were just told to do that. Like, why didn't I think of that? I don't know why I'm waiting for like an event. Create my own. I've done them
Make your-
before.
Yep. Especially when they're
Some,
already done, because you just copy and paste. You can save it all in a Word document or just open the last one and
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
Yeah.
keep them in order.
Yeah,
So easy.
what I do on my computer is I'll open 2 windows side by side, and I'll have the source chat on the left and where I'm going on the right, and just copy, move over here, paste, copy, move over here and paste. And based on whatever it was I just pasted, wait a minute, wait 2 minutes, if 2 or 3 minutes, if there's a video to watch, go back over here, get the next one, copy, paste, copy,
So
paste.
simple.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I had to be told it's this simple, and here's where you can find the information. And because it was before, this was like, I want to say it was last September or something, but it's super
And
easy to do.
then we
It
can also
really only
customize
takes,
it.
I'm sorry.
And then we can also customize it. Like take the bulk of it, but then if you find a testimony in a product that really resonates with that prospect, go find it in one of the groups and plug it in there.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Lynn, our brains are designed to keep us safe. So it's not going to think of things that create work for us. It's not even that much work. But all I'm trying to say is just sometimes we need somebody else to tell us the thing that our brain isn't thinking of. I saw a thing on Facebook, Facebook last night about making s'mores and then putting them in the freezer and how yummy they are coming out of the freezer, that the marshmallow gets crunchy or whatever. But then in the comment thread, somebody had said, I use my gas stove to toast marshmallows. And I was like, why have I never thought of this? Why haven't I thought of this? So sometimes you need somebody else to tell you what might be right in front of your face.
Mhm.
So
Usually it is.
we all do it. So, okay. So then she goes into talking about 3-way chats, which, we're familiar with. But she talks about exactly how to do it. And in reading this book this time, one, I'm feeling like I've never read this before. And I know I have, because I led a book study on it before. I remember nothing about it. I remember nothing about this book, but I see stuff I've highlighted in it, notes I've made. I remember nothing. So apparently now is the time I'm supposed to be reading this book, because now is when I'm getting, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives.
Yep.
Or the right book falls into your hands, or you get the right book off the shelf again. Or maybe it takes someone saying, I used to make everybody on my team read this book because it tells you exactly how to build this business. that didn't get said to me before. It was just, this is a good book.
This
Okay,
is a critical book. Like there are certain things
it's
that
a critical
should,
book.
maybe a little verbiage change or whatnot, just as time has gone along. But
Mhm.
it's essential, I think, to
I
growing a
agree.
business.
And any business builders I enroll going forward, I'm either going to send them a copy or I'm going to tell them, you need to buy and read this book. I fear that if I send it to them, they might not have skin
They
in the
won't see
game.
the value. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But read this book and even start assigning them a chapter a week and we can talk about it.
Yeah, I
You
was
know, in
going to
our
say, if
weekly,
that's something you do, you could create your own kind of outline and a micro commitment. Hey, this week, try to get chapter 1 done. And then maybe you start creating now like a Word document where you're like chapter 1 follow-up questions that you'll send and say, hey, what did you think about this? Not just what is your takeaway from chapter 1, but like a couple real questions.
hold that thought. Can you pause the video for a second? I'll be right back.
I can't pause it or I'll make 2 totally different videos. So we will just keep talking about whatever. On the lines of sometimes verbiage can be changed. If you don't have Phil Jones' book, Exactly What to Say, it is a critical book on what to say. Angie, I can't pause her. We're just going to make 2 different. I just talked.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes. Yeah. See? And you could make, as a teacher, little worksheets, just like you used to make for your students. And
to do that.
What I used to do when when our team was growing like crazy and everybody wanted a one-on-one call, you didn't get a one-on-one call unless you turned in your homework. As a life coach, even when people are paying me a lot of money, I will not take the call with them if they haven't sent their homework in 24 hours in advance. Because that's how if you haven't done anything, we don't have a reason to have a call.
Yeah, it's accountability.
Yeah. And so that whole I'll match your energy. Here, you want to start making $1,500 a month. I can show you how, but you got to do these things.
Got to do the work.
Yeah. I mean, any job has a training,
Yeah. So,
We squirreled, but that's a good one, Angie. And for anybody as your team grows.
So I got this on Amazon.
I might have to get one.
It's the official study guide and workbook for Get Over Your Damn Self, and Romy Neustadt wrote it. Although really it's stuff pulled out of the chapters and then just with blanks to fill in the spaces with the questions that come out of chapters. Yeah. Which is why I haven't written anything in it. I need more space than what this gives. So I did I think Lynn, you said you started a new notebook for the homework for this book. So that's what I did.
Yep, that's correct. I have a new list of names, and I'm in a Facebook group that I am commenting, like full on comments as much as possible, building relationships in there, and trying to friend them as quickly as possible when Facebook lets me. And they're starting to see my posts and my stories. So it's a lot of long-term relationship building with new people.
Awesome. Good. Okay. So she has a lot to say about the 3-way chats and specifically how to do them, and one note that I made is, especially with our team, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be your sponsor, your upline that you get on the call. So, because in this chapter, she mentions, being familiar with your upline's calendar so you can know when to schedule these things. I feel like within our team, we have several people who've said, I'm willing to step in and do three-way calls with you, especially when you have someone who's dealing with a particular health issue. I feel like we could almost go ahead and schedule well, and is it better to do three-way chats or to do a three-way phone call?
I
Because
think
a
know
three-way,
your audience.
you have to know your audience. Okay. Because a three-way phone call is more time restrictive. If it's a three-way chat, it can be really open-ended, which can also be problematic.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of three-way messengers, but using the voice memo.
Okay. Okay.
And you are correct. I think in our industry, it makes beautiful sense. Like if you know your prospect has diabetes, say, hey, Deanna, can you help, with this person, answer any questions? Can you be the expert? If somebody
Mhm.
has MS or a big autoimmune issue, hey, Judy, can you help with this? If somebody has,
Mhm.
Little
Mhm.
kids, hey, Tiffany Adams, could you jump on here and kind of share how did you go Senior Ruby with 4 little kids running around? Somebody who's really green. Hey, Crystalline K, you're a registered nurse. Would you be willing to jump on here and, just be a medical expert? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah,
knowing
exactly. That's exactly
the
what I
people,
was.
because our
Yeah.
team is just so beautiful
Mhm.
at stepping in. And you could even, and if you don't know, send a chat
Well, because
in
even
whatever
if the
group
person,
and say, hey, who would be great at this?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've
And
got a
if the
prospect
person,
I'm
your
talking to.
prospect is really like a phone call person,
Mhm.
then we can all talk on the phone. We all can
Right.
do that. But some people
Right.
don't like to talk on the phone. And some people like text messages better than Facebook Messenger. Like everybody is.
Mhm.
And you could ask them in the beginning, hey, what's your preferred method of
Yeah.
communication? Do you like, because you probably have reached out to them on Facebook Messenger, but some people don't check it nonstop like we do. Right? Like what's
And that's so frustrating.
what's the best way to communicate with you? Do you prefer text message, Facebook Messenger, phone calls, emails? Like people
Mhm.
oftentimes will be like, hey, can you email me this stuff? And I'm like, God, that means I got to check my email in case you reply. But yes, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
ask them,
Right.
what's your preferred method of communication? Because some people literally, like when I had a 9 to 5, I was on my email nonstop. So if you sent me an email, I was going to open it in 15 seconds. Now it's everything I can do to sit down once a day and like go through and delete all my spam and see if anything important came. Right. So again, ask the question and let them tell you. Don't assume just because they replied to your first message
Right.
that that's the best way. Some
Right.
people don't even have the Messenger app on their phone, which means they
Right.
have to
It's
like
still just the
log in.
direct message out of
Yes.
Facebook. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because, in the book, she's talking about you're going to set this up with your upline, but when we're talking to a prospect, we don't use that kind of language. We don't
No.
say, I want to get my upline into a three-way call with you. We don't even say, I want to get my sponsor. It's my friend or my business associate who can show you this from another perspective. And that applies to anyone on our team. So
100%.
that's why
I
don't.
always have trained my people and they're like, what do I say? Just say, hey, I'm not sure about some of these things specific to you, but my friend Christy has been doing this for so long. I think she can really help us. I'm going to throw her in the chat.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean,
again, it's teaching them that's how you work the business.
Right.
You don't have to know everything.
Right.
You can.
Well, and it's showing your prospect that too. that you
That's
don't
what I
have to
mean.
know everything.
Yeah, like if they want to start sharing and they're like, well, I need to learn more. No, remember how I just threw Christy in there?
Mhm,
You can too. Or you throw
mhm,
me in there or whatever.
mhm.
Teaches them.
But
They don't have to
I
actually know
did
anything.
read I did read something in the past though, and I don't remember who it was or if it was a training that Plexus offered, but that you don't want to put yourself down by saying, I'm just getting started, I don't have all the answers or whatever. It's just that you could say this is my friend Christy, she's my go-to for all things Plexus, but I don't want to make it sound like you know more than I do
You
because
don't
that
have
puts me
to,
down.
yeah, you don't have to
Yeah.
insult yourself at all,
Right.
just however it feels right to you, however it feels honest,
Mhm.
in my opinion. What feels honest based on the person that you're talking to.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay. So this gives really specific information about what the flow of the call should be and how um the initiator of the call can help keep the call from going too long. If you are on an actual phone call, like I said, it can be more open-ended when you do a messenger chat or something, but if you're actually on a phone call, that you don't want it to go over 15 to 25 minutes because that starts to tell people this business is
This
really
takes a
time
long time.
consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it difficult for us to be able to get to be productive in our slivers of time that we're devoting. When we tell people you can work this in the nooks and crannies of your business, then we get them on the phone and keep them there for 45 minutes. That's not
That's
a
not
nook
a
and
nook and
cranny.
cranny. That is not a nook and cranny. That's an hour.
Okay. Yeah. But so how, you can help keep it short, say I've asked Christy to step in and be my third party person to do this three-way chat. At some point in the conversation, I could say, hey, Christy, I know you're on a tight schedule and you need to go because you said you had something else going on this evening. So how about if you take one more question and then we can schedule another time for a follow-up conversation or something like that. I'm not even sure I would want to infer that there was going to be another three-way. I don't know that I would want to make that commitment.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing that Phil Jones teaches in the What to Say
mhm,
is not to say, what questions do you have? Or do you
right.
have any questions? Because he says that tells people in their brain that they should have a question. And if you've done a really good job, they shouldn't have a question.
Mhm.
And if you ask them what questions they have, they're going to probably slow the process because now their brain is like, oh, I should have questions. And if they don't have one, they just make one up or whatnot. And so he says not to ever say, what questions do you have? Because they
What does
might
he
not.
say to what does he say to
What to
say
say
instead?
instead? Well, he says, I brought the different book, not the exact one. So many good things. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of an unfair question, but I would like to know. I do have his book, so I could go look for myself. I just need to find it.
it's black.
That I remember that. I remember that.
That's how
I
I
know a
found it
general
today.
area where it probably is, so that helps.
One of the things that he says, I don't know if it's specific to that of not having questions, but as a closing statement, which I think oftentimes are moving to the next step thing, if we're not using closing. We are in the habit of saying, do you have any questions? Which now, again, is extending. And he says a good statement would be most people would start with ABC So most people,
Oh,
most people would start with ABC, and then when they become more comfortable, look to step up to XYZ. Most people would say what they like best about working with us is XYZ. So most people right now are starting with the trim and triplex. Like what I might have said, that most people are starting with trim and triplex so they can get the free reset.
mhm.
Most people are starting with trim and triplex so that they can be in our detox group. But you might just want to start with the triplex,
And
but
at that point,
really
what are your thoughts?
ending just with most people, because
Mhm.
that's letting them know, hey, oh, if that's what most people do, I should probably
Do that.
do that
Yeah.
also. You could
Mhm.
say another ending type thing is, the good news is now you have all the information. So if you're ready to get started, we can go ahead and do that now.
Mhm. Well, and she does offer in this chapter, the okay, tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, 1, you're ready to hang up the phone and run, and 10 that you'd like to get started today. Where are you? Although I don't necessarily like the idea of suggesting hang up the phone and run, because earlier in the book she says, don't suggest things you don't want them to do. And then here she says, she offers them this, maybe one, this is not for me, or I don't know, just one, you don't think this is a good fit, or yeah, I don't know what to offer as an alternative, but that was just my thought when I read it. But I think this is a useful structure to say, where are you right now on a scale of 1 to 10?
Mhm.
10 being you're ready to get started, and 1 that you're not ready to get started.
Yeah. Bye, Abby. Yeah. 1 being you're going to duck and cover and be abducted by aliens
Yeah.
next time we try to chat.
Yeah. So, and then that gives you an idea where to go from there, whether to pivot to customer or go ahead and get them signed up. So anyway, really good stuff in this chapter about what to do once the person has expressed interest and how to move them through that decision-making process. Any other thoughts on that chapter before we move on to chapter 7? Because we're getting close to time, although we can discuss chapter 7 pretty quickly, I think. But anything left on chapter 6? Any thoughts? Anything else we haven't talked about? Okay, so chapter 7, I object. People are always going to offer objections, and when you've been around a while, like we all have, you come to recognize that there's really just a handful of objections that you get all the time. And it doesn't matter what business it is or what product you're offering. The objections in a generic way are pretty much all the same. And she talks about that. And when someone gives you an objective, don't get defensive or go into convincing mode, which I tend to do with sounds like a pyramid scheme. I get defensive and go into convincing mode of convincing them how it's not. But in this chapter, she gives, one, what I really liked is before responding to their objection, she suggests, strongly encourages asking a clarifying question, which is basically a more specific form of, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Which
Tell
can
me
come
more about
across
that. Help
snarky.
me understand.
But when they say, I don't think I have enough time to do this, clarify, how much time do you think it takes to build a business? And for me, because I have a hair trigger sarcasm, I have to be really careful with the tone on that question. And I know that. How much time do you think it takes to build a business this way? How much time do you think needs to be invested on a weekly basis? And then go from there. Okay. And her response to that starts off with, I'm actually looking for busy people. Because busy people are the ones who get things done. And it's true. This not stepped on my toes, but this really spoke to me, because that becomes when I don't have enough going on, I get less done.
Mhm.
I have to have things that are putting structure and limits on my time, so that I'll tell myself I can work. I have this block of time this afternoon, so I need to do this with that block of time. As
Yeah.
opposed to the days when I have nothing on the calendar, I have all day. I get less done on those days than the days when I have 2 or 3 things on the calendar.
I think
So,
that's very, very common.
which did kind of step on my toes a little bit, but that's a me problem. But I really like the idea of the clarifying question to get them. One, it's to get more information out of them, because I think people are programmed to give excuses as to why they don't want to do something. I don't have time for that. I can't afford to do that. Those are the two biggies.
Right.
I don't have time, I don't have money. Both of which circle back around to, that's exactly why you need this business.
Mhm.
Because this business can help you gain time freedom. This business can help you replace the income from that job that you hate so much anyway. Okay. Her responses here are not quite so pointed, but she gives responses to all of the standard objections. I don't think I have enough time to do this. I don't have the money to do this. I don't want to bother friends. Why do you think you'd be bothering your friends? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I really love her clarifying questions.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
I don't know enough people. I'm not a salesperson. Now, why do you think you need to be a salesperson? And then the bottom line being, aren't we all salespeople? We see a movie we really love. We tell everybody about it and why they should go see it. We go to a new restaurant that we really like. We tell everybody about it and why they should go eat there and what they should order. We go to a new restaurant that has really bad service. We tell everybody why not to go there, because the service was terrible and the food was terrible. The hostess was rude. We're already salespeople, but we don't get paid to do those things. So we're already salespeople. In here, she says, in her response to that, she says, we sell ideas. Heck, I sell ideas to my kids every day to get them to do what I want them to do. That's what I did in the classroom, 5 or 6 periods a day for 24 years. Sell ideas to kids and why they need to do what I'm asking them to do. We're all salespeople already. We just don't realize it. The timing just isn't right for me to start a business. And then is this a pyramid? Why, yes, it is. Or explain to really the clarifying question. What do you mean by pyramid? And then respond to what they say about it. It's like, yeah, it's a network marketing business. And yeah, I get paid based on the performance of my team. But how is that different from the Ford dealership down the road? Doesn't the sales manager get paid based on the performance of his salespeople on the floor? How is that different? And it's
Absolutely.
not a pyramid scheme, because pyramid schemes are illegal. We're selling a product. It's, all the things that we know. But what I thought would be useful to do with this chapter is to take her written out responses, rewrite them in a way that sounds authentically you and fits our business, and practice them and practice them and practice them so that they come naturally, so that you're not having to scroll back in the file cabinet in your brain and think, I know the answer to this. Hold on. Let me through the Rolodex. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, yeah, the answer is blah blah blah. Just you want it to come naturally. That's just a thought. That's what I thought I would try
I
to do
like
with this
that.
chapter.
I like that because I, like you, Angie, tend towards a sarcastic, very frank tone that is not always taken well
Well,
by
and
others.
especially and this
Um,
would be a really good time where it's really important to use, if you're using Messenger, to do the Facebook message rather than type it. Because if you type out a question that starts with, why do you think, it's going to come across sarcastic, regardless of how you intend it.
Correct.
So that's an important note. And that was something I thought about, because sometimes I'll sit at the keyboard and think, how do I ask this question that it doesn't come across sarcastic
Or rude.
or rude?
I mean, people
Yeah.
can take offense to anything, but
Mhm. But that's when you need to verbalize so that they can hear your tone and that you're not being sarcastic. And the thing I learned to do with voice messenger is I send it to myself first.
yes, same.
Because if it doesn't come out the way I want it to, I can delete it. And then when I do get it the way I want it to be, I forward it to the person.
Yeah.
Just a little tidbit I've
I
learned.
do that. I do that as well.
So, thoughts on this chapter with the objections and the responses to the objections? Really, really good chapter.
I think these are great because it's actual applicable
Mhm.
words, steps that you can use in your business, because these are the objections we get phrased in different ways, but it's unlikely that you're going to get one that
Well, and
isn't
mainly, and the idea
this.
of asking the clarifying question,
Mhm.
because otherwise, if you just immediately start responding to the objection itself, that might not be exactly what they meant. And so then you will come across as defensive or possibly condescending if you're immediately just responding to the objection, because we've heard them all before. So asking the clarifying question is going to give you a better focus how to respond to that person. It's also going to buy you some think time.
Yes.
So anyway, other thoughts on this chapter?
So one thing is on bottom of 105 that we're sorting, not convincing people, but also to take our time answering these questions. Like if somebody says, I don't think I have enough time to do this, don't feel that you have to answer them within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Conversely, though, we don't want to take 2 or 3 days to get back to them on it. I'm harking back to Jay Bear, who spoke at convention, and I have not listened to the book club that he did
Yeah,
a few
no, I
weeks ago.
agree upon that. I mean, a reasonable time,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
within a half an hour or 45 minutes. But
Mhm.
sometimes I don't want them to think that I'm sitting around waiting for them to message me back.
True. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there are no emergencies in network marketing. Most
There are.
most of the time they can wait a little bit for a response to their question. So And even there have been times where, of course, this was earlier in the business. Back when we had the website, we converted to the new website that turned out to be so horrible. And we were spending hours waiting on hold to talk to customer service to try and
Yes.
get something addressed because everybody was having so much trouble. I had a customer text me about something and I was getting my nails done at the time, but then I was like, and first I had to ask because she texted me instead of sending the message through Messenger. So I had to say, I'm sorry, I don't recognize the phone number. Who is this, please? And so she told me. I was like, okay. And then I said, I'm not at home right now. So can I get back to you in da 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 da? She's like, oh, sure, no worries, don't worry about it. But I'm like, I need to answer this right away, but I can't.
Yeah.
So yeah. There are no emergencies in network marketing.
There's no plexus emergency.
Nope. So, okay. Well, good talk today.
Great job.
I don't know. I feel like I talked a lot, but
You did fabulous. Great job.
I really got so much out of these two chapters. And like I said, I think we've moved from the theoretical to the practical, where this is the specific how to do this, do this, do this. So when we get off of here, I'm going to message Christy about the organizational chart.
Perfect.
So
Do that.
great talk today, ladies. Two chapters for next week. So this was 7 and 8. So this was 6 and 7. Next week will be 8 and 9. 8 and 9. The chapters are She's Just Not That Into You, or Is She? And The Fortunes in the Follow-Up. Fortunes in the Follow-Up. 2 chapters for next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Different time. Original time.
Yeah, we'll be back at
Awesome.
noon
Thanks,
next week.
ladies.
Back in normal time.
And
All
thank
right.
you for your flexibility today. I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you guys. Bye.
All right.
Well,
Great
thank
job.
y'all.
Bye.
Glad you got your car fixed. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.